Welcome back to Lenz Comic Corner Classic / Known Classics. This episode number, if I can get the right thing here, here we go. It'll be episode 2374 and Doubleshot 2268. Now, I have the penultimate Masterworks for Captain Marvel to talk about and some more Thor. First we have is Masterworks Captain Marvel Volume 5. Excuse me, which collects issues 4757. Along with Avengers A number 7 and Marvel 2 and A number 2. Now, those two annuals, not going to discuss those because I've already discussed them already. Your writers for these issues are Scott Eamon, who does pretty much 4955. 47 and 48 is done by Jerry Conway. 47 is co-done by with Bill Mansell. Doug Moak does 56. So is Jim Shooter. 57 is done by Rod McKenzie. Your artwork for most of these issues is done by Al Mulgrew, who does 47-53. Pat Broderick does 55-57. George Acosta does 54, along with Dave Cockrum. They let Jim Stone do the artwork for those, right now for those annuals. This book covers the time period of November 1976 to July of 1978. And yes, they're still doing the thing where they publish issue every 2 months. Most upon these issues, they wrap up the whole thing of Rick Jones and Captain Marvel being sort of connect to each other mostly. They undo that here, where like every time they tap the bands together, they get transported to the negative zone. They kind of wrap that up here. Yeah, that's effectively all done here. Yes. So throughout these issues, mostly basically you have Captain Marvel take on various different people. Like in 47, taking the Century, 459. First time he's taken on things since the Kree Skrull War. Issue 48, we have debut of a character known as Cheetah, who appears here in this issue, the following issue, and issue 55, then he gets killed off in Captain America 319 by a Scourge on the World. Yeah, and we also debut of Ellen and Lizzie Watford, and they're here for a small period of time. Yes. They're here just for these issues for 48, 50, and come back 55. Yeah, and then the farm gets destroyed by Ronan the Accuser. Yeah, Ronan the Accuser was insane in 49. Then fighting him. Then they have in 50 where this is kind of where they wrap up the whole thing of like, oh, Rick Jones is trapped in the negative zone. I think, yeah, this is the one that does it. Yeah, so he teams with the Avengers taking on the Super Dapto in issue 50, which is a great issue. 51 take on Markero, who last appeared pages of Thor. And then 51, basically, Rick reunites with Team Brigade, which is the first thing they've been seeing in quite a while. Yeah, Team Brigade himself were basically recurring books. They last appeared prior to this in issue Captain America 116. That was the last time they physically appeared in the book. That was back in 1969. This was in 51. This was released in 1977. Basically about 10 years later. Yeah. And after those two issues, then you have 53 teams up with the Inhumans take on Dr. Minerva. And then issue 54, he has a rematch with Nitro. Yes, Nitro, the man who gave him cancer. And he last appeared back in Omega the Unknown, number 8. But here's the strange thing, though. After this very issue, he would never fight Captain Marvel ever again. He would ask about him in Peter Parker's book of Spider-Man, but he would never appear in the book ever again. This was his last appearance in the book. And then 55 and 56 take on a new character known as the Death Grip, a robot. And we have the first appearance of the Denver Space Observatory, which is only here for a few issues before it's done. Yep. And then pretty much wrap the whole thing with that, and then the last issue here we have 57 where he takes on Thor because of misunderstanding with Rick Jones. Great set of issues. Next book will be the last book to discuss for the original Captain Marvel, and then move on to something else with that one. I'm going to give the book roughly a 9 out of 10. Next up we have moving with the Thor. We're discussing issues 320 the 336, along with A number 11 and Bizarre Adventures number 32. This was actually reprinted in the Runequest trade. Now, here's the thing about these issues. Basically, the very next issues that come after this one is the Walt Simonson run. Yes, because we have two runs. We have the run of Doug Mohawk's very brief run of the book, and we have a brief run here that comes afterwards. Yeah, and mostly put, what is Thor doing here? Well, in his opening issue, yeah, it gets a little bit better. This is like Doug Mohawk is writing the book with Key Pillar in the artwork. It's like, okay, let's fight other Asgardians here. Make first appearance in the manga Register, and they're here for a very brief period of time. They're here from issues 320, 322. I mean, it kind of feels like, yeah, we're going back to basics. I'm sure Doug was being told, hey, do Thor stuff. Don't do your stuff you did before. And the first appearance of a character called Darkman. Yes. Who only appeared for that one issue and Desire. Yeah. Then 324, we have Thor versus Graviton. Like, okay, interesting. Give it to him with the Wasp. And then we have the apparent death of Darkon. Well, a guy who once tried to clean Mjolnir. While taking on Mephisto. Yes, Mephisto. And then we have in 326 debut of the Silver Scarab, who only appeared for this issue, and then he pops up once again in an issue of New Avengers, and that's basically it for him. And then Thor takes on Tyre. Basically, it's more good Thor stuff here. Because I'm sure basically Doug was probably getting tired of basically doing this book. So, and then we have 320 debut of a guy called Megatech, who is no longer alive in comics. No, not really. Yeah, he appears in this issue and pops up again 328, 358, and then he appears in Thor Legend and he dies. Yeah. And I think that 329 is actually the start of a brand new era. Yep. 320 was actually the last of, well, the run by Doug Mohawk. And then we have 329 where he takes like some kind of Heinrich, a storm giant. Yep. And then 330, he takes on a debuting character known as the Crusader. Yeah, this is the guy who thinks that people worship, that calls Thor a pagan, and he basically doesn't like it very much. He's here for a couple issues, and he pops up Avengers Spotlight. Yeah. It's a very interesting set. It's a very interesting two-parter. 332, Thor takes on frickin' Dracula. For about 2 issues, and then 334, he takes something called Processor. And then 335, gives him again. And then 336 mostly put Keith Concord, because at one point here we actually have it where Jane Foster is disappeared, and Donald Blake is blamed for his disappearance. And then here's something strange that is noteworthy by the detective who's questioning Donald Blake about this. That him and Keith Kincaid look exactly like they could be twins, but they're not related at all. I'm sure he was created just to be a substitute for Donald Blake. Yeah, and then 336 we actually have it where, get this, Keith Kincaid and Jane Foster married. And how long are they married for, you might ask? They're probably not married very long. He, of course, does appear much more after this one. No, he just appears sporadically. Yeah. And then we move on to the annual. Yes, the annual we have in here, in number 11. Whereas most of it just says untold tales of the life of the god, the Thunder God. It's a really interesting annual. Alan Zingas basically does the writing here with Bob Hall and the artwork. It's a very interesting annual. Nothing really bad about it at all. No, not really. Feels like basically what they were doing at the time, which was basically, sword and sorcery stuff. Yeah, that's most of what exactly what was there for. Excuse me. Yes. So, and here's something interesting that there's one more thing I have to read before I conclude here. We have to talk about Bizarre Adventures 32, which is mostly put Thor in the time of Vikings. Plus, I love the cover artwork here. That's mostly put exactly what the story is. It's mostly put Thor. It's called the Spear of Sea of Destiny. It's mostly put Thor's time during time of Vikings. That's mostly put exactly what this is. But it's a really fun story. It's published in black and white because that's what Bizarre Adventures is known for, publishing black and white stories. It's a short story, and that's it for that one. And also with that, basically comes to Thor. I have now reviewed from 126 of Thor to 382. You're thinking, wait, really? Yeah, because I read Walt Simonson's run. So there's that. Still a good run. Well, that run anyways. Final thoughts on Doug Moak's run and the brief run we have here. Doug Moak's run had a very weird start. It seems like he wanted to have Thor do social commentary, fight demons, and I guess, like, from my perspective, I think of Thor fighting aliens or other stuff with Asgardian stuff. It seems like toward the end he's trying to do that, and then it almost seems like, though you read this book, it seems like Marvel's just running out of ideas with Thor. And this is what Jim Shoup was telling me. Is like, what else can we do with Thor? Like, we can't do anything else with him. I mean, you read that issue 336. It seems like, though, that was going to be the last. Like, it seems like the way it was written. It seems like that was going to be the last issue of the series. Excuse me. I think Marvel did as far as they did with the character. And my guess is that no, you actually could. And Walt Simonson saved the book. And it was amazing. I thought the run was okay by Doug. It's not one of his best work per se, but there's that. Okay, so that's going to be pretty much it for particular view. But by the way, I give basically the Runequest stuff. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It does get better. In case you're curious, who takes over Walt Simonson? Tom DeFalco, who had a much better run on the book. Yep, so next up, more Kamen Rider, and then another Comic Corner. Okay, thanks for you. Bye.